Riches did not come to me by luck, inheritance, or shortcuts. They came because I trained my days to obey my purpose. I did not wake up rich. I woke up disciplined. And discipline, practiced daily, reshaped my destiny. If you want wealth, stop searching for secrets and start mastering habits. Because money is attracted to the person you become, not the wishes you make. The first habit that changed everything was daily control of my thinking. Every morning, before the world could speak into my mind, I spoke into it myself. I refused to let fear, doubt, or limitation set the tone of my day. I fed my mind with intention, direction, and certainty. Thoughts are seeds. Whatever you plant repeatedly will grow without your permission. Most people are poor because they let random thoughts run their lives. I became rich the moment I decided to think on purpose, every single day. The second habit was working with a definite purpose. I stopped being busy and started being precise. Every day had one clear objective connected to my long-term vision. No confusion, no drifting. I knew exactly what I was building and why. When your purpose is clear, your energy multiplies. The world rewards those who know where they are going. Rich people are not faster, they are focused. And focus practiced daily compounds into massive results. The third habit was decisive action without delay. I learned that hesitation is the silent killer of opportunity. Every day I trained myself to make decisions quickly and act immediately. Waiting for the perfect moment is how dreams expire. The habit of action creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Most people think confidence comes first. It doesn't. Action comes first. And I acted daily, even when fear was loud, even when results were invisible. The fourth habit was persistent effort regardless of mood. I stopped asking myself how I felt and started asking what must be done. Feelings are unreliable, habits are not. I showed up when I was tired. I worked when motivation was absent. I stayed consistent when progress was slow. Persistence is not dramatic. It is quiet, boring, and undefeated. Wealth bows to the person who refuses to quit daily. The fifth habit was strict control of time and association. I guarded my hours like a vault, and my environment like my future depended on it, because it did. Every day I invested time only in activities that moved me forward, and I separated myself from voices that normalized mediocrity. You cannot rise while surrounding yourself with those comfortable staying low. Daily exposure shapes belief, and belief shapes behavior. I chose my environment with intention. Understand this clearly. These habits are simple, but they are not easy. They demand self-mastery. They demand sacrifice. They demand that you stop blaming the world and start commanding yourself. Riches do not respond to wishful thinking. They respond to disciplined action repeated daily. Most people want wealth without structure, success without routine, and results without responsibility. That is why they remain stuck. You do not need more motivation, you need better habits. Motivation fades, habits remain. And when habits are aligned with purpose, wealth becomes inevitable. This is not about money alone. Money is only the visible reward. The real transformation happens within. When you master your thoughts, your focus, your actions, your persistence, and your time, money has no choice but to follow. Wealth is the echo of who you are becoming daily. If you want to be rich, do not wait for inspiration. Create discipline. Do not chase opportunity. Prepare for it. Do not complain about results. Upgrade your habits. Your future is being built today, quietly, repeatedly, relentlessly. And remember this, the world does not reward intention. It rewards execution, daily execution. That is how I became rich. And that is how anyone who dares to master their habits will rise. Wealth is not an accident, it is teach. The result of disciplined daily habits repeated without excuse, repeated when no one is watching, repeated when motivation disappears, repeated when results are silent, repeated until success has no option but to respond. Riches do not fall into the hands of the hopeful. They move toward the disciplined, the focused, the relentless individual who trains the mind and commands the day instead of reacting to it. Poverty begins where discipline ends, and abundance begins where excuses are no longer tolerated. Every powerful transformation starts in the mind. Before money ever appeared in my life, control appeared in my thinking. I stopped allowing random thoughts, fears, and doubts to occupy space rent-free in my head. I chose my thoughts deliberately. I trained my mind to expect achievement, not to wish for it. Thoughts repeated daily become beliefs, and beliefs acted upon become reality. Most people lose the battle for wealth before the day even begins because they let yesterday's failures dictate today's decisions. Discipline is the bridge between desire and possession. Desire alone is weak. Discipline turns desire into force. I learned to structure my days with intention, not emotion. I no longer waited to feel ready. I acted because action was required. The habit of doing what must be done, regardless of mood, separated progress from stagnation. The world does not reward feelings, it rewards execution. Every day I executed, even when tired, even when uncertain, even when progress felt invisible. Focus became my greatest weapon. I stopped chasing everything and committed to one definite purpose. Scattered energy produces average results, but concentrated effort creates unstoppable momentum. Each day was aligned with a clear objective tied to a larger vision. I did not confuse movement with progress. I eliminated distractions ruthlessly because distraction is the silent thief of wealth. Rich people are not busy with everything, they are obsessed with what matters. Decisiveness shaped my results. Indecision is a habit of failure. I trained myself to make decisions quickly and stand by them. Waiting for perfect conditions is a luxury of those who accept mediocrity. Opportunity respects speed and confidence. When decisions were made, action followed immediately. Action builds confidence, not the other way around. Each day of decisive action strengthened belief, and belief multiplied effort. Persistence became non-negotiable. I stopped negotiating with discomfort. I understood that resistance is proof of growth. The habit of persistence is not glamorous. It is repetitive, demanding, and often lonely. But persistence defeats circumstances, outlasts setbacks, and breaks down barriers that talent alone cannot move. I learned that quitting is a habit, just like discipline, and I chose the habit that pays. Time became sacred. I stopped wasting hours on activities that produced nothing. Every day, time was invested with awareness. Time either works for you or against you. There is no neutral position. I treated time like capital because it is the most valuable currency in existence. Those who misuse it remain poor, regardless of income. Those who respect it compound results quietly and consistently. Environment played its role. I distanced myself from voices that normalized limitation and surrounded myself with ideas that demanded growth. Association influences ambition. Daily exposure shapes standards. Standards shape behavior. Behavior determines results. I understood that you cannot rise in an environment committed to staying comfortable. I chose surroundings that challenged me to think bigger and act bolder. Self-responsibility became my identity. I stopped blaming circumstances, luck, systems, or people. The moment I accepted full responsibility for outcomes, I gained full control over change. Responsibility is power disguised as pressure. Most people avoid it and remain weak. I embraced it and grew stronger. Every result AME feedback, not failure. These daily habits did not make me rich overnight, but they made wealth inevitable. Riches respond to consistency, not intensity. A small, disciplined action repeated daily will always outperform occasional bursts of effort. The secret was never hidden, it was ignored. The habits that build wealth are simple, but simplicity requires mastery. Money followed discipline, not the other way around. Confidence followed action. Opportunity followed preparation. Success followed persistence. The process was predictable, repeatable, and available to anyone willing to command themselves daily. Wealth became the byproduct of who I became, not something I chased. Riches begin the moment you take full responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and results, the moment you stop pointing outward and start looking inward, the moment you realize that every outcome in your life is a reflection of how you think, how you act, and how consistently you repeat both. Wealth does not respond to excuses, explanations, or complaints. It responds to ownership. The instant you accept that you are the source of your results, you also gain the power to change them. Most people want success without accountability. They want rewards without responsibility. They blame the economy, the system, their background, their luck, or the behavior of others. But blame is a habit that produces nothing. Responsibility, on the other hand, produces clarity. When you take responsibility for your thinking, you reclaim control over your direction. Thoughts shape perception, perception shapes decisions, and decisions repeated daily shape destiny. A careless mind creates a careless life. Taking responsibility for your thoughts means refusing to entertain ideas that weaken you. Fear, doubt, and limitation are not facts. They are trained responses. If you allow them to dominate your inner dialogue, they will dominate your actions. I learned to monitor my thinking with discipline. I challenged negative thoughts immediately. I replaced them with deliberate, constructive ideas. The mind, when left unattended, drifts toward comfort and fear. When directed, it becomes a tool of creation. Responsibility for action is where intention turns into reality. Knowing what to do is useless without doing it. I stopped waiting for motivation and started obeying commitment. Action does not require perfect conditions, it requires decision. Each day I acted in alignment with my goals, whether I felt confident or not. Confidence was built through movement, not contemplation. Every disciplined action strengthened belief and weakened hesitation. Results are honest, they never lie. If the results are small, the habits are small. If the progress is slow, the effort is inconsistent. Accepting responsibility for results removes emotional excuses and replaces them with strategic thinking. Instead of asking why things were not working, I asked what needed to change. That question alone shifted my trajectory. Responsibility turns problems into assignments instead of obstacles. Wealth demands self-mastery. Self-mastery begins with controlling reactions. I stopped reacting emotionally to setbacks and started responding strategically. Failure became information, not identity. Each setback pointed to an adjustment, not a reason to quit. Emotional reactions keep people poor because they waste energy. Disciplined responses create progress because they conserve it. Time became my accountability partner. I stopped spending time and started investing it. Every hour had a purpose. Every day had structure. Those who drift through time drift through life. Those who command their time command outcomes. Responsibility for time is responsibility for future results. You cannot escape the compound effect of how you use your days. Environment also fell under responsibility. I accepted that the people I listened to and the ideas I consumed shaped my standards. I removed myself from conversatio that reinforced limitation and surrounded myself with information that demanded growth. Waiting for others to change is a form of surrender. Choosing your environment is an act of leadership. Discipline replaced hope. Hope without action is fantasy. Discipline is hope with a plan. I learned to do what was necessary even when it was uncomfortable. Comfort is expensive, it costs growth. Responsibility often feels heavy, but it builds strength. Avoiding it feels light, but it builds weakness. The choice is made daily. Most people delay responsibility until circumstances force it upon them. I chose to take it early. That decision eliminated excuses and created momentum. Once excuses disappear, progress accelerates. When progress accelerates, belief deepens. When belief deepens, effort becomes effortless. Wealth followed naturally, not because I chased money, but because I became someone capable of holding it. Responsibility changed how I thought, how I acted, and how I responded to results. It turned confusion into direction and effort into achievement. Riches were no longer a dream. They became a consequence of daily ownership repeated without compromise. The mind must be trained daily to expect success, not hope for it, because hope waits while expectation prepares. Hope wishes while expectation demands, and hope leaves the future to chance while expectation commands it with certainty. A hopeful mind drifts between possibilities, but an expectant mind moves with direction. Success responds to those who anticipate it with disciplined thinking, not to those who casually desire it. An untrained mind defaults to fear, doubt, and limitation. If left unattended, it will rehearse failure more vividly than achievement. That is why daily mental training is not optional for those who want wealth, power, and freedom. The mind is either programmed by intention or shaped by circumstance. Those who expect success do not ask if it is possible, they prepare as if it is inevitable. Expectation is built through repetition. Each day I conditioned my mind to see opportunity instead of obstacles. I spoke to myself with authority, not uncertainty. I replaced inner hesitation with inner command. Thoughts repeated daily become instructions the mind follows without resistance. When the mind expects success, actions align automatically and effort gains precision. Hope is passive. It waits for the world to change. Expectation is active. It changes behavior first. When you expect success, you act differently, you speak differently, you carry yourself with intention. The body follows the mind, and the mind follows what it has been trained to believe. Daily mental discipline separates those who advance from those who remain stuck. Training the mind requires control over input. What you read, hear, and watch daily becomes mental fuel. Most people poison their minds with negativity and then wonder why progress feels heavy. I learned to protect my mental environment aggressively. Every idea allowed into my mind had to support growth. This daily filtering strengthened belief and sharpened focus. Visualization became a discipline, not a fantasy. I saw results before they appeared. I rehearsed success mentally until it felt familiar. The mind does not distinguish between imagined repetition and real experience. When success feels familiar internally, it becomes achievable externally. Expectation removes surprise from achievement and replaces it with readiness. Doubt did not disappear, but it lost authority. I acknowledged it without obeying it. Daily training taught me to move forward despite uncertainty. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the habit of action in its presence. Expectation builds courage by focusing attention on outcome instead of obstacles. Consistency mattered more than intensity. A few minutes of deliberate mental conditioning each day produced more power than occasional bursts of motivation. Motivation fades. Training Rima ends. The mind respects what is repeated, not what is promised. Daily repetition carved confidence into identity. Expecting success also demanded discipline in language. Words shape perception. I eliminated phrases that implied uncertainty and replaced them with language of certainty and control. The way you speak to yourself programs your nervous system. Confident language produces decisive action. Time reinforced expectation. I structured my days around productive habits that confirmed my belief in success. Action validated expectation, and expectation fueled action. This cycle strengthened daily. Progress became predictable because behavior was consistent. Most people live in reaction mode, adjusting to circumstances instead of shaping them. An expectant mind leads rather than follows. It anticipates challenges and prepares solutions. Preparation is the visible evidence of expectation. Those who expect nothing prepare nothing. Success eventually became normal. That is the power of mental training. When success is expected, it no longer intimidates. It becomes a responsibility rather than a surprise. Wealth, achievement, and influence respond to those who are mentally ready to receive them. Training the mind daily transformed success from a distant hope into a natural outcome. Expectation replaced hesitation. Discipline replaced doubt. The future responded accordingly. Focus is a weapon. Scattered energy creates average results. And average results are the natural reward of divided attention, unfocused effort, and a mind that chases everything while mastering nothing. Power does not come from doing more, it comes from concentrating force in one direction until resistance breaks. The world does not yield to those who are busy. It yields to those who are focused. Scattered energy feels productive, but it produces little. Many people move all day and still go nowhere because their effort is diluted. Focus, on the other hand, compresses effort into impact. When the mind locks onto a single objective, every action gains weight. Progress accelerates not because more is done, but because less is wasted. I learned that focus begins with decision. The moment you decide what truly matters, everything else becomes noise. Most people avoid this decision because it demands sacrifice. Focus requires saying no repeatedly. It requires discipline to ignore distractions that feel urgent but lead nowhere. Without this discipline, potential remains unused. The mind is constantly under attack. Notifications, opinions, fears, and comparisons compete for attention daily. If you do not control your focus, something else will. I trained myself to guard attention with intensity. Attention is life's most valuable currency. Whatever receives it grows. Whatever is ignored fades. Wealth, mastery, and influence are built by investing attention wisely. Multitasking is celebrated, but it weakens results. Divided attention fractures effectiveness. When I committed to doing one thing at a time with full presence, quality improved, speed increased, and mistakes decreased. Focused effort compounds faster because it builds momentum instead of friction. Clarity strengthened focus. I defined my primary objective with precision. Vague goals produce vague effort. Clear objectives create sharp action. Each day, I aligned tasks with that objective. Anything that did not move me forward was eliminated. Elimination is the hidden skill of high achievers. Focus also demanded emotional control. Distraction often comes from emotional discomfort. When tasks become challenging, the mind seeks escape. I learned to stay with discomfort instead of avoiding it. Growth lives on the other side of sustained attention. The habit of staying focused under pressure separates professionals from amateurs. Consistency, reinforced focus. Repeated attention in one direction builds expertise. Expertise builds confidence. Confidence amplifies effort. Over time, focus transforms EFOR, T into authority. Those who stay focused long enough eventually become undeniable. Environment played a role. I reduced exposure to noise and surrounded myself with simplicity. Physical order supported mental order. A chaotic environment invites distraction. A structured environment supports concentration. Focus is easier to maintain when surroundings are aligned with intention. Focus sharpened decision-making. With a clear objective, choices became simple. I no longer hesitated over minor decisions. Energy was preserved for meaningful work. Decision fatigue disappeared because priorities were fixed. This mental clarity created speed without recklessness. Average results are not caused by lack of talent. They are caused by lack of concentration. Talent scattered across too many directions loses its power. Talent applied with focus multiplies. History is shaped by those who committed fully to one mission. The moment I treated focus as a weapon, everything changed. Effort became efficient. Time produced returns. Progress became measurable. The world responds to concentrated force. Those who focus deeply move it. Those who scatter themselves are moved by it. Decisions made quickly and executed daily separate the rich from the rest. Because speed creates momentum, momentum creates confidence, and confidence attracts opportunity while hesitation quietly destroys it. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is rarely intelligence or talent. It is the ability to decide and move without delay. Opportunity favors those who act, while others are still debating. Indecision is not caution, it is fear disguised as thought. The longer a decision is delayed, the more doubt grows around it. Most people think they are waiting for clarity, but clarity comes after action, not before it. I learned that decisive action sharpens judgment, while hesitation weakens it. Each decision made strengthen the next one. Quick decisions do not mean reckless choices. They mean choosing based on available information and trusting the ability to adjust. Successful people understand that perfection is not required to begin. Progress is built by correction, not hesitation. Those who wait for certainty rarely move, and those who move create certainty through experience. Execution is where decisions gain value. A decision without daily execution is a wish. I trained myself to act immediately after deciding, no matter how small the step. Daily execution compounds power. Small actions repeated consistently outperform grand plans executed occasionally. Momentum is created by movement, not planning. Fear loses power in the presence of action. The first step weakens doubt. The second builds confidence. By the third, belief begins to form. Daily execution conditions the mind to associate decisions with progress instead of anxiety. Over time, decisiveness becomes a habit rather than an effort. Time rewards speed. Opportunities appear briefly and move on quickly. Those who hesitate watch them pass. I learned to respect time by acting within it. Execution today is always more valuable than intention tomorrow. Delayed action is often action denied. Discipline sustained execution. Motivation fluctuates, but discipline remains. I committed to acting daily regardless of mood or circumstance. This commitment eliminated excuses. When action becomes non-negotiable, results become predictable. Mistakes became teachers instead of threats. Quick decisions sometimes led to errors, but errors provided feedback. Feedback refined strategy. Strategy improved results. The habit of execution turns setbacks into progress. Those who avoid mistakes avoid growth. Decisive action also simplified life. Fewer mental loops, less overthinking, more progress. Energy once wasted on worry was redirected into creation. The mind becomes clearer when it trusts itself to act. Consistency separated effort from success. One strong decision changes direction, but daily execution changes destiny. Wealth is not built in moments of inspiration. It is built in routines of action. Riches respond to consistency because consistency demonstrates readiness. Most people are trapped in preparation. They study, plan, and wait. Preparation without execution becomes procrastination. The wealthy prepare just enough to act and then refine through doing. Action is their advantage. When decisions are made quickly and executed daily, momentum becomes unstoppable. Progress accelerates. Confidence solidifies. Opportunity multiplies. The gap between intention and result disappears. That gap is where most people remain. Those who close it rise. Persistence beats talent when talent refuses to stay consistent, because talent without discipline is unreliable, and ability without endurance collapses under pressure. The world is filled with gifted individuals who never rise, not because they lack potential, but because they lack the habit of showing up daily. Persistence is the force that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Talent is impressive in the beginning. It creates early praise and quick wins. But talent alone grows comfortable. It relies on ease. Persistence thrives in discomfort. It works when results are slow, when recognition is absent, when the path feels repetitive. Consistency is the test talent often fails because talent expects reward too soon. I learned that success does not ask how capable you are, it asks how committed you remain. Persistence is a decision renewed daily. It is the choice to continue when quitting feels justified. Each time you persist, you strengthen a mental muscle that talent alone never develops. This muscle becomes resilience, and resilience outlasts brilliance. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence multiplies effort. Talent that appears once and disappears often never reaches its full expression. Persistence forces progress even on difficult days. Small actions repeated daily build strength that bursts of effort cannot match. Failure becomes irrelevant to the persistent. Setbacks lose their power when the habit of continuation is strong. While talent questions itself after mistakes, persistence adjusts and moves forward. Learning replaces discouragement. Growth replaces fear. The path remains active. Persistence also removes emotional dependence. It does not rely on motivation or inspiration. It operates through routine. Routine transforms effort into identity. When action becomes automatic, progress becomes inevitable. Time rewards consistency. Persistent effort compounds quietly. Days of unseen work eventually surface as visible results. Talent may attract attention early, but persistence commands respect over time. Those who stay continue to improve while others fade. Discomfort becomes familiar. Resistance becomes a signal of growth rather than a warning to stop. Persistence reframes difficulty as evidence of progress. Each challenge faced strengthens resolve. Environment responds to persistence. Opportunities appear for those who prove reliability. Trust is built through consistency. The world invests in those who refuse to disappear. Persistence simplifies decisions. The question is no longer whether to continue, but how to improve. This clarity preserves energy and focus. Progress becomes systematic. Most people underestimate the power of daily effort. They seek shortcuts and sudden breakthroughs. Persistence ignores shortcuts and builds foundations. Foundations support longevity. In the end, persistence transforms average ability into exceptional performance. It surpasses talent by refusing to quit. Consistency is its weapon. Time is its ally. Results are its evidence. Time is either invested or wasted. There is no middle ground, because every hour moves you closer to growth or deeper into regret, and nothing remains neutral once it passes. Time does not pause, negotiate, or return. It advances relentlessly, rewarding those who use it with intention and punishing those who treat it casually. The future is built quietly by how time is used when no one is watching. Most people believe they have time, and that belief keeps them poor. Time is not something you have, it is something you spend, and once spent, it is gone forever. Every day, time presents a choice. You either direct it with purpose or surrender it to distraction. There is no such thing as killing time without killing potential. Investment of time requires clarity. Without clear objectives, time leaks into meaningless activity. I learned to plan my days around outcomes instead of comfort. Each hour was assigned value. If an action did not produce progress, it was removed. Elimination became as important as execution. Wasted time hides behind busyness. Many people stay busy to avoid facing what truly matters. Activity creates the illusion of productivity, but only focused effort produces results. Time invested produces returns. Time wasted produces excuses. Discipline protects time. Without discipline, time is consumed by urgency and noise. I learned to say no without explanation. Protecting time meant protecting future results. The richest individuals are not those with the most money, but those who control their hours. Compounding amplifies time investment. Small daily investments grow into massive outcomes over years. Consistency transforms minutes into mastery. Those who invest time patiently outperform those who chase shortcuts. Time also reveals priorities. What you consistently make time for reflects what you truly value. I align my schedule with my goals rather than my mood. Mood changes. Purpose endures. Rest was intentional, not careless. Rest restored energy for focused work. Wasting time drains energy without renewal. Investment preserves strength and sharpens attention. Environment influence time use. Distractions multiply where boundaries are weak. I design my surroundings to support concentration. Structure reduces friction. Delayed action is hidden waste. Procrastination steals opportunity silently. Acting now is the most valuable investment. Tomorrow compounds uncertainty. Time demands respect. Those who respect it are rewarded with progress. Those who ignore it are taught through regret. Every moment is an irreversible transaction. Spend it wisely and it multiplies. Spend it carelessly and it disappears. Association shapes destiny. Habits are strengthened by environment because no one rises in isolation and no one falls alone. Every belief you hold, every standard you accept, and every habit you repeat is reinforced by what surrounds you daily. People like to believe they are self-made, but the truth is simpler and harsher. You are shaped, molded, and directed by the environment you tolerate. Destiny does not change by intention alone. It changes when association changes. Your environment is always teaching you something, even when you are not paying attention. Conversations train your thinking. Behaviors you observe normalize certain standards. Energy transfers silently. If you are surrounded by limitation, hesitation becomes natural. If you are surrounded by ambition, action becomes automatic. Most people underestimate how deeply association programs the subconscious mind. Habits do not grow in a vacuum. They need reinforcement. A disciplined habit struggles in a careless environment. A focused mind weakens in a distracted circle. That is why many people fail repeatedly despite strong motivation. Their surroundings are stronger than their willpower. Willpower fades. Environment stays. I learned quickly that if I wanted different results, I needed different influences. Listening to people who complained trained my mind to expect problems. Being around those who avoided responsibility made excuses feel reasonable. Comfort is contagious, and so is mediocrity. Without changing association, no amount of effort produced lasting progress. Association influences identity. Over time, you begin to think like those you spend time with. You adopt their language, their expectations, their limits. This happens quietly. No announcement is made. One day you realize you have accepted a standard you once promised you would never tolerate. That is how destiny is shaped slowly, not through dramatic failure, but through daily exposure. Habits strengthen when they are supported. Discipline grows in disciplined environments. Focus sharpens where focus is respected. Growth accelerates where growth is normal. I placed myself where excellence was expected, not admired from a distance. Standards rise automatically. When you are surrounded by people who demand more from themselves, this applies beyond people. What you consume mentally matters just as much. Media, content, conversations, and ideas form an invisible environment. Repeated exposure trains emotional reactions. Fear-based input produces hesitation. Empowering input produces initiative. The mind adapts to what it sees. Most often, many people wait for motivation to change habits. That approach fails. Change the environment and habits follow naturally. Remove distraction and focus increases. Introduce structure and discipline strengthens. Replace negative influence and confidence grows. The path of least resistance always wins. Environment determines which path that is. Loyalty to the wrong association is expensive. Staying connected to people who pull you backward out of guilt or comfort quietly drains ambition. Growth requires separation, not anger, not ego. Separation with purpose. Distance creates clarity. Clarity creates momentum. Responsibility plays a role. No one forces association. It is chosen daily. Every invitation accepted or declined reinforces direction. Every conversation entertained or avoided shapes the future. Blaming others for influence is avoidance. Ownership restores control. High-level environments demand contribution. They do not tolerate excuses. That pressure refines character. It sharpens habits. It accelerates learning. Comfort environments relax standards. Relaxed standards erode discipline. Discipline lost is destiny delayed. Over time, habits supported by environment become identity. Identity directs decisions. Decisions compound into outcomes. Outcomes become life. That chain is unbreakable unless association changes. You cannot consistently act against the environment you live in. Those who rise intentionally choose surroundings that challenge them. They design environments that support growth. They guard association like a strategic asset. They understand that habits are not just personal choices, they are environmental responses. Destiny follows environment because environment shapes behavior, behavior shapes habit, habit shapes character, and character shapes results. Change the environment and the future begins to change quietly, steadily, and inevitably. Faith in a definite purpose fuels unstoppable momentum. Because when the mind knows exactly where it is going, hesitation disappears and energy organizes itself around a single direction. Purpose is not a vague wish or a hopeful idea. It is a clear destination that commands thought, action, and endurance. When purpose